You guys, today, Caitlin Clark got fined $200. Kathy, what do you think you are accomplishing by that? What kind of message do you think you're accomplishing by doing? You're not even making an example out of her by finding her an exorbitant amount of money. You are literally making a joke out of yourself by finding her such a
The WNBA is once again facing controversy that highlights the ongoing issues with its leadership. And this time, it isn't about missed calls or questionable officiating, but rather about the league choosing to punish its biggest stars simply for speaking out and calling attention to problems that are impossible to ignore.
And we know how this works because Sophie Cunningham has told us how this works. If you talk about the refereeing, if you talk about the officiating, you know, on the InstaFace, on the TikToks, on the Twitters, any of that social media, in the public, in the interview, if you mouth it in the shower, Kathy Engelbert will peek in and look around at you and point at you and be like, you're fined. Even though she won't clean up the officiating in her trash-ass league? Okay.
Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever's standout guard who has almost single-handedly elevated women's basketball, was fined $200 after posting on Instagram that the referees couldn't stop her team following their playoff win over the Atlanta Dream.
So during the game, we saw here, you know, the Fever players celebrating. I would assume based on the reaction that this was after the Lexi Hull steal and everything. And Caitlin Clark on Instagram commented this: refs couldn't stop us. Elite bench mob. It wasn't for the lack of trying. Glad they're having fun and celebrating like no other teams. Will she get fined for saying that? Yeah, she got fined.
The timing makes the situation even more telling, as the Fever are in the midst of their deepest playoff run in nearly a decade, stunning the basketball world by defeating the heavily favored Las Vegas Aces in Game 1 of the semifinals. Yet the WNBA chose this very moment to crack down on Clark with a show of administrative power.
When you're on the WNBA's time, or the NFL's time, or the NBA's time, getting fined, when you're on their time, criticizing the officials, calling out the officiating, I've seen players get fined for that. But when you're on your own time, well, now, other than Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark seems to be the two players that come to my mind of players getting fined, criticizing the officials, doing it on their own time, quote unquote, off.
Rather than celebrating the incredible storylines unfolding in the playoffs, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and her staff are focused on policing social media and handing out petty fines for blunt comments that simply point out what everyone already sees.
It is real. The hate is real, Kathy. I see you hating on us from a mile away, Kathy Engelbert. We all see it. You out here trying to fine Caitlin Clark. You out here fining the one person who's actually bringing money into this league. What a joke. You're mad that the Indiana Fever are here right now. Y'all didn't expect us to get this far. Y'all really didn't expect it. We got Sophie Cunningham exposing the whole league agenda. Exposing them. Caitlin Clark mocking them all on Twitter, all on Instagram, everywhere. Because they...
If you're enjoying, don't forget to subscribe. To be clear about what actually happened, after the Fever's 87-85 win over Atlanta in the decisive Game 3 of their first-round series, Caitlin Clark replied to her team's official Instagram post celebrating their bench with two short comments: "Elite bench mob" and "refs couldn't stop us." That second comment, just 4 words echoing what countless fans have been saying all season, was somehow enough for the WNBA to slap her with a $200 fine. A decision that highlights just how absurd the league's policing has become.
What world do we live in? Like, I'm pretty sure she just said the refs can't stop them celebrating. This isn't even her going at refs. It's literally like if you say the word refs and you're an Indiana Fever player, you're gonna get fined. If you say the word refs as a Fever player, the word referees has to be spoken, cannot be said by an Indiana Fever player, otherwise it's a fine. And the worst part is if they got fined for celebrating. So I don't think only she got fined, not everybody. There's other people on the floor, everything. She's not like they're celebrating. The timeout's been called or the foul's been called. It is.
The WNBA has allowed its biggest star to be targeted all season long. Yet the moment she makes the mildest acknowledgement of poor officiating, the league treats it as if she committed a major offense. What makes this even more outrageous is that Caitlin Clark isn't even playing in the playoffs. She's been sidelined since July with a groin injury that cut her second season short after only 13 games. The same player who brought unprecedented attention, revenue, packed arenas, and record-breaking TV ratings to the league has been forced to watch from the bench as her teammates push forward. Yet even in her absence from the court, Clark still became the target of the WNBA's discipline for nothing more than stating the obvious.
WNBA definitely got to play these women more. You got to pay these women more. Because what the hell is a $200 fine? This picture right here is giving me Mom Made Pizza Rolls vibes. Mom Made Pizza Rolls and everybody. Caitlin Clark was fined $200 for her comments she left on the IG post. She said refs couldn't stop us, meaning they advanced to the next round despite the refs trying to throw them a curveball every game, despite having to play against the refs. And the league said, "Oh hell no, you gotta run me that. You gotta run me that 200. You got to run me that 200."
Caitlin Clark's response made it clear how little she takes this punishment seriously, posting on X, "Got fined $200 for this LOL," with laughing emojis and a promise that the bench mob would be even louder the next game. Her teammate Sophie Cunningham joined in, mocking the league by joking that the fine would break Clark's bank account and sarcastically suggesting a GoFundMe. Professional athletes are openly laughing at the WNBA's weak attempt at intimidation, and for good reason. Clark's salary is $78,000, while her endorsement deals with Nike, Gatorade, and others are worth tens of millions, making the $200 fine roughly 0.007% of her net worth. The issue isn't the money. It's the principle and the message the league is sending by punishing players instead of fixing the systemic officiating problems that have plagued the season. What makes it even more absurd is that Clark's comment wasn't controversial at all. She didn't name referees, use profanity, make threats, or cross any personal lines. She simply said the officiating couldn't stop her team, which could easily be read as a compliment to her teammates' resilience. Yet the WNBA chose to discipline her for stating the obvious while ignoring the real issues behind her words.
Sophie has got jokes. She retweeted this. That's really gonna break the bank for her. Starting a GoFundMe now. Sophie, you got jokes. Hun, you got jokes. Sophie Cunningham Central, I'll donate.
The timing of this fine exposes the WNBA's completely misplaced priorities, as Caitlin Clark was being punished for a harmless Instagram comment while her team prepared for a semifinal clash with the Las Vegas Aces, whose star Aya Wilson had just captured her 4th MVP award. The optics are striking. Wilson, the league's most decorated active player, is celebrated for her success, while Clark, the league's most popular player, is fined for a mild critique of officiating. It perfectly reflects everything broken about the WNBA's approach. The bigger picture makes the situation even more absurd, as poor officiating has been a constant frustration throughout the 2025 season for players, coaches, and fans alike. From the infamous Fever Sun brawl that resulted in 5 technical fouls and 3 ejections to endless examples of inconsistent whistles and missed calls, the league has ignored glaring problems with its refereeing. Coaches have been fined for speaking out, players have racked up technicals at alarming rates, and fan complaints have hit unprecedented levels. Yet instead of addressing these issues, the WNBA chose to fine Clark for saying what everyone already knows.
And fining players for being excited on the bench and for letting it be known how trash your referees are, why don't you start fining referees for not calling fouls? Why don't you start putting that type of energy into making sure the game is played better? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Because that would be nice. That would be nice if you could do that.
Instead of tackling these systemic issues, the WNBA keeps targeting the people who speak up. Golden State coach Natalie Nakasi was fined for questioning officiating bias. Fever coach Stephanie White has spent months calling out disrespectful officiating. And even Las Vegas coach Becky Hammon, whose team often benefits from favorable whistles, has admitted the quality of officiating in other games is unacceptable. The pattern couldn't be clearer. The voices who understand basketball best are all pointing to the same problem. Yet the league's answer is to fine them rather than fix it. That makes Clark's fine even more insulting when you consider what the Indiana Fever have accomplished without her. Despite losing 6 key players to injuries, including their biggest star, the Fever have made the semifinals for the first time since 2015. They upset the 3rd-seeded Atlanta Dream in a thrilling 3-game series, then stunned the basketball world by taking Game 1 on the road against the 2nd-seeded Las Vegas Aces, 89-73. Kelsey Mitchell has led the charge with a spectacular 34-point performance in that opening win, the 2nd-highest playoff scoring total in Fever history.
If this is the WNBA foreshadowing, we're seeing how you're acting on the bench. We're seeing how you're talking to the officials on the bench. We will tee you up. Now, whether I think that she deserves a tee for it or not, we're not even going to get into that. What if this is just saying, hey, we're going to tee you up if you continue to get at the officials, if you continue to talk up the officials, if you continue to show up the officials on the sideline, we're going to tee you up. We're not going to tee Sophie.
This moment should be about celebrating resilience, teamwork, and the depth of talent in women's basketball. Yet the WNBA chose to fine its biggest star for pointing out that officials couldn't derail her team's remarkable run. The decision comes off as tone-deaf, petty, and completely at odds with the league's own goals of growth and visibility. The contrast with Aya Wilson's situation makes it even clearer. Wilson, fresh off her record-breaking 4th MVP award, embodies everything the league wants to highlight: dominant play, polished interviews, and a reputation for never criticizing league operations. But when she and the Las Vegas Aces met the Fever in the semifinals, it was Kelsey Mitchell and the Fever bench, the very players Clark praised in her Instagram comments, who stole the spotlight. Wilson struggled through a rough 6-4-22 shooting night, while Indiana controlled the game from start to finish.
Couldn't stop her. I actually don't think that the Aces perimeter, honestly, defense or offense is very good, but specifically defense, they just couldn't find an answer for Kelsey. They were sending 2 on her at different times, but the Fever were running cutters. Kelsey was making her way to the rim. Now, I will say the Aces defense is scary around the rim because you have somebody like Asia who averages over 2 blocks a game, and she's just there waiting and ready to block your shot if you get too close to the rim. But Kelsey Mitchell, I mean, she was just finding her spots, getting to her lanes, hitting those open threes.
The irony couldn't be sharper. Caitlin Clark gets fined for saying the refs couldn't stop her team, only for that same team to go out and prove her right by dismantling the league's golden child and her heavily favored squad. If the WNBA had any sense, they'd be promoting this remarkable underdog story instead of wasting energy on petty fines over Instagram comments. But smart, strategic leadership has never been a hallmark of Kathy Engelbert's administration. This fine captures everything wrong with the league's approach to players and management, prioritizing control and image over protecting stars and addressing real issues like officiating. It's the same backwards mindset that has haunted women's sports for decades: compliance over competitiveness, politics over performance, and administrative convenience over athlete welfare. What makes it most frustrating is how preventable all of this was. If the WNBA spent even half the effort on improving officiating as they do monitoring social media, players wouldn't feel compelled to voice these criticisms. Proper accountability for referees, stronger training, and even a basic acknowledgement of the widespread concerns could have built trust in the system. Instead, the league has chosen to silence its stars while the chorus of frustration only grows louder and harder to ignore.
That Caitlin Clark has generated for this league, all the tickets sold, all the jerseys, all the record revenue of the ratings, the television deal, and they're going to put their hands in her pocket for $200 for this. I'm like, hey man, do we need to call the armored guard? Do we need to have all this? And we need to deliver it directly to Kathy Engelbert's office. As a matter of fact, Caitlin Clark herself should be able to make an appearance, and she should do how Ice Cube did, when he used to run up into record labels. I'm saying, bring a bat. Caitlin, bring a bat. Bring the black.
Clark's reaction to the fine, laughing it off and promising her bench would be even rowdier, perfectly illustrates why she's become such a beloved figure in women's basketball. She refuses to be silenced by league bureaucracy, isn't afraid to speak truth to power, and continues to lift up her teammates even while sidelined. These are the same qualities that made her a generational college star and will ensure she remains a transformative professional for years to come. The real shame isn't that Caitlin Clark was fined $200 for an Instagram comment. It's that the WNBA keeps squandering the momentum she has generated for the sport. They have the most popular player in league history, a team defying the odds with a remarkable playoff run, and storylines capable of captivating fans everywhere. Yet instead of amplifying this moment, they're bogged down in petty fines and tone-deaf decisions that echo the same short-sightedness that has hindered women's sports for decades.
Is madness. It is madness, and I mean this. Like, the amount of people are like, "Oh, I hate this team." It's like, why? They're excessively celebrating. They're excessively celebrating. They're not there talking down on other teams. They're not doing the Alyssa Thomas. They're not doing a Phoenix Mercury and shit talking other teams' fans. They're not doing a Phoenix Mercury and shit talking the other team's players, their coaches, their all of this stuff. And then when they lose, they're silent. They dodge everything. Hell no, they're just celebrating. They're just celebrating. They actually find somebody for saying refs can't stop. The refs won't.
The message is unmistakable. The WNBA is more concerned with controlling the narrative than improving the game itself. They'd rather fine players for pointing out obvious flaws than take meaningful steps to address them, even if it means undermining the incredible platform Caitlin Clark has built for the league. It's the kind of short-sighted thinking that has long kept women's professional basketball from realizing its full potential, and under the current leadership, meaningful change feels as distant as ever.